Hi, I'm Shelly Renee, practice management coach here in upstate New York.
I'm Melinda Heryford, practice management coach and consultant in Sacramento, and we're here today with Cris Sgrott. Cris from the Organizing Maniacs, our good friend. Welcome, Cris.
Hey, it's nice to join you today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. It's great to have you. Shelly and I decided we thought this would be meaningful for the dentist, but after we did some research, we thought, well, maybe this is going to be super meaningful for us and our businesses too. So
I know sometimes I go to the grocery store and people are like, what do you do for a living? Because I wear my Organizing Maniacs shirt. And they're like, oh, I could use you. And I say to them, yeah, we could all use me. I could use myself sometimes.
It's true. It's true. And, here we are, we're stuck at home. So
we are stuck at home.
It is a perfect time to think about how do we get organized. And Shelly and I, when we work with our clients and actually ourselves too, but our clients in particular get buried, Cris, in paperwork. So if we look at their person and their dentist, right? So they're out there working with their patients and their office is not their focus. But if you go in their office, it's piles of paperwork. It's like bills and invoices and license stuff. And what else, Shelly? I mean, it's crazy, right?
Cris, it's very unique in our industry. As our practice, my husband's a dentist, we'll have a document. It's one document. Perhaps it's every, 2 or 3 years when they inspect the x-ray machine. And then you have this one sheet of paper that you have to refer to, or the licensing for the antivirus that's good for 2 or 3 years. And you have to find those documents. It's daunting. You have this giant folder this big of paper reports that are highly valuable, but you can't find them. So
and that's if you're organized, you have that big folder, right, Shelly?
What do we do?
Yeah, because I think my next book is going to be called I'll Put It Here for Now. Because everybody has those piles that are like, oh, here's the one piece of paper. It has no real place in any of my files. I don't know what to do with it. I really need it. It's really important. Therefore, the best place for it is right here. So I'll put it here for now and I'll deal with it later. But guess what? I mean, dentists are really busy people all the time. And when they're not busy with patients, they're running businesses. And when they're not doing that, they want to be spending time with their families. So filing and organizing is at the very bottom of everybody's list.
For sure.
Go ahead.
They keep them, Cris. That's the good thing. They keep their paper.
Which is important, right? Because it's valuable.
Help us find them.
Yeah. So one suggestion that I normally make for people, especially when they have these like onesies pieces of paper that they don't really need it very often, but it's very important to refer to, is I tell them some people like to organize things in their computer, their digital files with folders. Then they could create a folder that says, need once a year or reference guide or whatever. I tell people go with your brain. Like if your brain thinks of this piece of paper, like I need it to not get in trouble, then name that, right? Just go with how your brain remembers things because you'll be much more likely to find it. But one really important thing is when you are scanning these documents, name it really well in the front end. So Melinda was very kind to show me some of her files at a different time when we were hanging out. And what I said to her is that I love that all of your files, they're scanned, are not just like a long string of random numbers, right? They all had very good description of what that document is. And for you to be able to find these onesies pieces of paper, it's even more important for you to create good naming convention. And naming convention is just a fancy way of identifying what is it that you're writing. I normally tell people use years. So we are in 2020. So if you have, I think you gave an example of an X-ray inspection, right? So if the X-ray was inspected in 2020, I would put that number in there. Then I might put the manufacturer of the X-ray, X, Y, and Z company. And then I might put the actual name of the machine. And then I would put inspection. right? So then if you are searching in your computer for the inspection of that particular equipment, you can easily find it. And by the date, you can easily tell when was the last one. In digital, everything is about search. You know, people get really hung up on like, do I need folders? Do I need this? Do I need that? Like, and this is the only time when I say to people, like, if you don't have time to create folders, just dump it all into one location.
Mm-hmm.
But for, you know, for the love of God, make sure that you're labeling these things very, very descriptive, as many words as you can. There used to be a time when, like, you know, dating ourselves, when like Word didn't used to let you put a whole lot of characters. Now you can literally write a novel as the title of the document.
For sure.
They don't care. And that's important when you're trying to search.
Do you have some general categories that you're finding pretty standard for a business owner?
I have some that are like related to the business. So they're like corporate filings. Those are some of the things that people can never find, right? I have like taxable things that are related to like finances that may go with that. You have like inspection, you know, so in the naming convention, maybe the year, the level of whatever that goes with, you know, in the dentistry industry, you probably have like certification and licensing that you have to renew. You probably have continuing education that you use for those certifications. So using the year, using the category, like the broad category, where does it go with your inspection, your taxes, you know, your certification, like how is it that you use that thing? Sometimes I tell people, like, spend some time kind of drawing it out, what some of these categories look like for your individual business. And that's really helpful to like develop what I call a document tree in advance, right? What are some of these parts of the business that are like really important, but also that have a lot of onesies and twosies paperwork, that it doesn't make sense to have a whole bunch of hanging files or a whole bunch of vanilla folders with just one piece of paper.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. That's excellent. Excellent. So as they get this document, recommend instead of putting on their desk.
Instead of putting it on your desk. Yeah. I love the Snap scanners. They're like this big. They take very little space on your desk. Those things are beautiful. They scan amazingly. You can get them like, I want to say around $500. You can hook it up to your computer. You can just scan the document immediately. It pops up on your screen like if you were, you know, like if you were printing something. You can immediately label it what it is, right? Because you already have the established naming convention from your either your brain, or you can just search the last thing that you saved, and then it helps you kind of use the same guideline, and then you just like put it in your computer, and then you're good to go, and then you can shred the paper forever.
Nice.
Beautiful. What a process. So I'm imagining right now, we have some time, the doctors have some time, and they have a desk full of papers. So probably
love that.
Right. So you talk about the do's, don'ts, and myths of paperwork. So one piece is when they find those onesies, twosies, now they have a special pile for those. But if they're organizing their whole desk right now, what is a great strategy that's easy for them?
Yeah. So I talk about, like, which is Ohio, like only handle it once, but sometimes that's not really realistic, right? So whenever you're sorting through your desk, you should probably create a couple of piles. One of them is probably going to be like actionable things, like you still need to pay this bill, or you need to sign up for that thing, or you need to respond to it. There's something that needs to be done with that piece of paper. I create one pile of that, and I put a sticky note to it that says action, right? It requires me to do something with that piece of paper. And then there's a whole bunch of like FYIs, right? I already paid the bill. I already went to the thing. It's an accounting related, it's an HR related, it's a marketing related. That's just like somebody else maybe needing to handle that piece of paper. And then there's all of the, like, these onesies things that we were just talking about that I'll put it here for now, but I don't know what to do with it. And that may be just like its own project on like scanning and, you know, assessing where does it go. So I normally tell people like make some piles. You may have like a shred pile. You may have like a take home pile, right? Label with a sticky note, start subdividing the categories, handle one paper at the time, right? Ask yourself the question, like, what is the long-term value of this piece of paper? What do I need to do with it? It does take a lot of thinking a little bit, but you know, once you start and you develop the categories, it starts moving a lot faster. And then you're into the groove of like, you know, getting through your desk, and before you know it, you know, a lot of the paperwork also on people's desks age themselves, right? Because we put it here for so long, and now it's like time to just throw it away. So just get rid of as much as you possibly can.
So asking the questions is really important, but what's going to happen is as they do this process, they're going to start to categorize. Is that right?
Yes.
And so it really sets them up for the next step of this process, which is that decision tree, or that
The documentary. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we could say this is the first step for them in creating a long-term filing system that might be easier.
Yeah, you know, when I work with my clients, I always start by like sorting the paperwork, or, you know, kind of helping them create some sort of a category system and establishing what you do have. Because the truth is that the way I name things may be completely different the way you name things.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of people that have ADHD, and they just have a unique way to thinking about their paperwork, which is okay, right? So go with your brain, go with your instinct, name things the same way, and then just kind of make your way through a little bit at a time. Of course, when you're handling paperwork, there's a lot of homework that comes from handling your desk, especially if you haven't done it. I mean, you know, maybe a couple of years since you were last bored and had time to work on your desk, right? And it may be a couple of years before they have time to work on it again. So, yeah, so just don't be overwhelmed by it. I tell people just take one category at a time, one pile at a time, and then just try to make a little bit of progress.
And one quick question, Cris, where are they digitizing? Where are they keeping these? Not on just their laptop, right? Where are they going to put these digital files?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Shelly, because I find like I take for granted that people are uploading all of this stuff into the cloud.
Right.
And there's plenty of my clients that have zero backups in their computers. So if you're using a Mac, they kind of force us into a little bit of a better backup than like PC people. But oh boy. Declining. I'm so sorry.
Wanted more people want.
I'm finding that like people are not backing up their stuff, not doing anything with it. So I normally recommend people to use a program like Dropbox, which to me is like the easiest to use. They basically have a super easy download on their website. You can ask for it to be your desk, like your document box. Mm-hmm. Is that what it's called? Yeah, your document box. So then it automatically becomes the place where you put all your documents. And basically, then you start dumping all of this stuff in there. It has an app, so you can put it on your phone. So I can easily find any of my files on my phone when I'm on the go. Nice. That, you know, they have an app for your tablet. So they have a website that you can go directly if you don't have your computer. Like sometimes when I do presentations, I hardly ever take my computer anymore because literally all of my files go with me wherever there's an internet connection. Love it. So if you're naming things easy to find, and if you know they automatically back up because everything is on the cloud automatically, they literally back up like every minute. So anything you're putting in your computer is automatically storing somewhere else. So if your computer crashed, the only sad part of it is that you have to spend money getting a new one, not that all of your files are gone, which, you know, it can be devastating for some people.
Wow.
So Shelly, when I think about where our clients are, they're probably a couple steps behind the whole digitized world. So this is great because it kind of outlines some steps to take. And so if we think about right now, it's like cleaning up the desk, right? Just cleaning up the desk. and beginning to see what the categories are. Would you agree, Shelley, that that'd be an awesome first step?
I agree. I agree.
And Cris has been kind enough to create a check sheet for us. So they'll be in the download a check sheet so you can actually have the step-by-steps on what we just talked about. And then Shelley, we're going to reveal the next part, right? What's that?
I would love to have more Cris time. I'm sure all of our dental owners would want more Cris time as well. But I would love to go a little bit deeper in the naming convention, help us organize a little bit better. But you have given us a wealth of information already to get us started. So
And so the next step, we're going to wake up paperless. Can you
there
believe
we go.
it? We are going to wake up paperless.
Yes,
That
on
sounds
all these
amazing.
things. Yeah, for sure, Cris.
Hint, hint, you may already have the answer for it.
All right, so stay tuned. Cris, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Cris. Okay.